2019-09 is a bond ordinance to authorize the making of various public improvements and the acquisition of new, additional, or replacement equipment and machinery, new information technology and telecommunications equipment, new communication and signal systems equipment, and new automotive vehicles, including original apparatus and equipment in, by, and for the Township of Holmdel in the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $9,130,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide the issuance of a bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Make a motion on that ordinance? Introduction?
Second.
Mr. Lorenzo?
Yes.
Mr. Catelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Hines?
Yes.
The next item is a hearing on ordinance 2019-08, authorizing the guarantee by the Township of Holmdel, New Jersey, or payment of principal and interest on the capital equipment lease revenue bond series 2019 Holmdel Board of Education of the Monmouth County Improvement Authority. The ordinance was published in the Asbury Park Press, posted on the bulletin board in Town Hall, and copies have been made available through the clerk's office and on the table in the rear of the room.
Public comment. Seeing no public comment?
Is this the general thing?
No, just on both.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
So, Mike, I should recuse myself, correct? MCIA?
Yes, you did on the introduction. I
I'm
would
going to
advise that
recuse
you're...
Wendy.
Mr. Catelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Hines?
Yes. Admin? Chief?
We're good.
I am going to take a second and just again thank the chief for the double duty. It's been wonderful communicating, getting us a lot of data. It doesn't help when you have a number of residents with no power, and he's doing a beyond admirable job, so thank you again, chief. Thank you very much. CFO?
Again, we just introduced the bond ordinance for 2019, and the public hearing, or public at the next meeting can question what's in that ordinance.
Engineer?
No detailed report.
I'll go first today for boards and committees. I had a good meeting today with some of the members of the Board of Ed. We discussed school security, always a good discussion. It worked really well. The DSL-3 and what was put in place by Mayor Catelli last year. So we'll have some follow-up on that and how we continue to fine-tune that. And again, over the next 12 months, we have an officer has been in the schools. We also had a discussion on that, and I think that's worked out incredibly well. So we look forward to continuing to work with the school boards best we can. And I think I made my earlier comments regarding energy and whatnot. So let's start with Deputy Mayor.
There you go. So just real quick, I'd like to make a motion to direct our Township Attorney, Mr. Collins, and the clerk to prepare an amendment to Ordinance 2-5.3 to be introduced at our next meeting on August 13th and adopted on September 10th. The amendment is to add the following paragraph to that ordinance. No person who was previously employed as Holmdel Township Administrator shall be eligible for rehire within 2 years of their separation from the township, whether that separation was removal, resignation, or otherwise. Second. Reasonable.
Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Catelli?
I know nothing about this. It's always nice to get a little insight on some of the things that the other committeemen are talking about, particularly since we were in an executive session for an hour and a half earlier today. There were some things brought up that we weren't familiar with by others, and we discussed it. I'd appreciate that opportunity in the future. So at this point, I'm going to abstain.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes, it goes with the 2-year term that I put into the last one.
Mayor Hines?
No. Anything else, Mike?
Yeah, one more. I'd like to make another motion to direct our township attorney and clerk to prepare another amendment to ordinance 2-5.3 to be introduced at our next meeting on August 13th and adopted on September 10th. And the amendment is to add the following paragraph. No person who has been found to have violated ethics laws by an ethics board shall be eligible for hire as township administrator.
That's fine.
You need a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Bontempo?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
I see no problem with that on the surface, so yes.
Mr. Nicholas?
Yes.
Dr. Pascucci?
Yes.
Mayor Hines?
Yes. Anything else?
That's it.
Mike, do you have copies of those you
I
can
was
give
going
me?
to ask,
Yeah,
I was
I'll-
going to ask you the same thing,
I'll-
please, thank you.
Oof. Doc?
I want to give you my time to, okay, go.
I got your.
Greg, does that mean you have nothing?
I want to give it to him.
You have
He's got a
nothing?
lot.
Well, I got a couple things.
Sure you know.
Well, really, I'm very pleased that we introduced the bond ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, with 5 million in there for our public safety, correct?
Look and tell.
Yes.
So that means we do have enough for an $800,000 fire truck, $2.3 million new first aid building, and renovations to our current first aid fire complex. That should be plenty, I'm considering. So I'm very pleased with 5 million in there for that. Very, very happy. I'm also pleased we have another fireman on the agenda today, so that's another member to our active.
Keep going.
Keep going, we need them.
Yeah.
So any more volunteers, please sign up. I don't think I have too much more tonight.
Thank you, Doc. Greg?
I'm good, thank you.
Tommy?
No report, Mayor.
Good. Public comment. Michael Sokol, playwright extraordinaire.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing dramatic to report. Yes.
Michael, we all know you.
No, nothing dramatic to report. Mike Sokol, 6 Wild Hedge Lane. Yes, unfortunately, I'm one of the 600 that does not have power, and I'm not here to complain or anything. But what I would ask is, the Wild Hedge Road neighborhood was really severely hit by the storm. The tree damage, I've lived in the neighborhood for 18 years, and I have never seen the extent of tree damage that our neighborhood received. So I would only ask if it's possible, I don't know what the game plan is for our Department of Public Works to hit the different neighborhoods and maybe do cleanup, but I would simply just ask that Wild Hedge Lane be put on the list as a road to be considered. I'm not talking about a few branches, I mean trees coming down, massive branches.
So Mike, as you can imagine, we're obviously prioritizing, some of the monster trees and major roadblocks. We still have a few roads, I think we're down to a half dozen or less, that are blocking traffic or not allowing people to get to their neighborhoods and so forth. But certainly, as the rain slows and the wind slow, our DPW has been fully staffed, and we'll be looking to do a lot of cleanup tomorrow.
Oh,
So
sure.
We're going to do as much as,
Yeah.
Today was about clearing roads and allowing JCP&L to get to the broken down wires and hopefully getting energy back. But I think over the next few days, we're going to be working real hard to clean the roads as best we can.
Absolutely, I certainly expect it would be part of the process, but I did want to at least mention that particular neighborhood. The other thing I was going to say is I want to thank the Township Committee for once again working with the school board with the bond that you passed tonight. We don't have the bonding authority to be able to take advantage of the Monmouth County program that allows us to lease out computers and other equipment that we use over a 2-year period. So this has always been a great example of partnership that I've seen throughout my time on the board as well as during the time I've lived in the town. So I appreciate the actions of the committee tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Ralph. Walking straighter, Ralph.
Good evening, Ralph Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. 2 topics. One, I'll address to Michael Collins, attorney. As a follow-up to what has been occurring in items that you obviously are addressing with regard to personnel and the administrator. I appreciate that to a certain extent, personnel is considered private, and you've gone through the process of that. There is apparently a, I'll call agreement, I'm not using necessarily the legal word, contract with that person. Is that going to become a public document, or does that also say private?
There have been over requests for it, and they have been denied pursuant to the personnel exception, which is NJSA 47:1A-10.
So in short, none of that, the details of what has occurred will become public.
To answer your question, the committee approved entry into a mutual agreement and release that is subject to the personnel exception.
Okay, because needless to say, I'll say it anyway, a variety of rumors and hypotheses go about, not necessarily factual based. And it's hard to dispel some of that without having facts. So,
I mean, the best I'll tell you is a lot of the time we're all sitting up here with our arms tied behind our back because we can't say anything, and this is exactly one of those cases. So, rumors go on at the podium and elsewhere, and unfortunately the committee on a personnel item can't talk about it publicly. And in this instance, the only time you've heard about it in the past was specifically when public employees requested to be discussed in public.
thank you. Separately, Dr. Pascucci,
Yes, Mr. Blumenthal.
with regard to the fire items that are in the bond referendum, could you say a little more about what the status of planning for that is, and your confidence that the 5 million number is not just, and you're getting to the point that that's hopefully reasonable number?
I feel it's a reasonable number. We will all be discussing it when we get into more detail with the bond ordinance, but my knowledge so far is an $800,000 fire truck. It's $2.3 million for a new first aid building, all in, furniture, architect fees, engineering fees, all that stuff. I don't have a tied down figure for retrofitting the current fire first aid building. It's all in the works, waiting for more information to come back. I think that number is more than sufficient. Doesn't mean we're going to take it all, but I think that number is more than sufficient.
Good. Now, approximately, what's the size, I don't know how you want it, of the first aid building?
I don't have that right on me, Ralph, but we do have 2 different drawings from the architect that we're waiting to present to the head of the first aid, who's away in his honeymoon and will be back till tomorrow. So I cannot present anything on his honeymoon. I don't think he would be happy.
Yeah.
It's like 6,700 square feet.
And with regard to the...
7,500 square feet in that ballpark.
Okay. And with the renovation to the existing first aid fire to become the new quote-unquote firehouse, how much of that is addition versus renovation?
It's big enough.
Yeah, it's plenty big, Ralph, the way it is. It has the meeting room, it has the kitchen, it has the cheese room. So it's all the things they've been asking, and it has more bays for them. Whether we have to knock down a wall to make one larger bay for one of the trucks, that's still up in the air. I'm waiting for information back from the fire chief and president of Holmdel Fire number 2.
I had a construction expert go through there. I mean, it's the bones are solid. It just, as Dr. Pascucci said, it needs an entranceway because it's one building as opposed to the purpose of 2 separate. Some cosmetics. I think even in with prevailing wages, I think that the economics there should be sound.
Good, thank you. And just what are the next steps, and may we hear a little more detail from you?
Hopefully every meeting you'll hear a new detail. As soon as I hear back from the fire department as to their needs for reconditioning, refitting the building, we'll get that to the architect. They'll give us a better number. As soon as Chris gets back, get his opinion on the 2 different plans for a separate new firehouse. So we should have something every meeting. We're moving fast now, Ralph.
Good.
Mr. Blumenthal, sir.
One last one for
go
Craig.
ahead.
You did make the motion for regard the search for what I'll call, my words now, the permanent administrator. At the last meeting, you made reference to potentially seeking, since the search may take a while, you might want to seek an interim to help backfill the chief here. Is there also going to be sought an interim?
At this time, no. I think the chief is willing to stay on because basically, to rephrase, by the time we bring an interim in and he retrains them it's going to be a lot of duplication of effort, so right now we're focusing on finding a full-time replacement, which hopefully with this firm can be done expeditiously.
Thank you.
You know, before I take the next public comment, I just don't want to forget this. The next meeting is August 13th. I would like to make a motion to start that a half an hour later at 8 o'clock. I have a conflict, so I will not be able to get to executive till 7:20, 7:25. So I'd like to have the meeting start at 8 and executive start at 7:30. Hopefully that's not an issue. But do I need to make a,
Yeah, let's just make a motion.
can everyone just say yay?
Motion second,
Yeah,
all in
fine.
favor?
Yay?
Yay.
Great.
Great, thanks, guys.
Nice, nice. Gina? You're not shrinking, are you?
Regina Crisione, 35 Rambling Brook Drive. Two things. The first is I want to thank Dr. Pascucci for his perseverance in working on this fire issue. And I would like to ask, how many active members do we have at this point? Active.
44, as far as I'm aware, these are active. Not
44.
guys saying 44, 45.
Oh,
What to do?
wonderful.
And
Okay.
they were out all night long.
Okay. Okay, and the other thing is I sent
I had about 13 this year. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Gina, but
we
we have.
added 13
yeah,
this year?
great.
Wonderful. Keep
Great.
going. I sent an email to all the members of the Township Committee on July 10th. I don't know if you got it. I haven't heard from anyone, so I wanted to read it into the record. Dear Mayor, this is from CELU. Dear Mayor Hines and Township Committee members, the Township Committee recently posted on the Holmdel Township website an acknowledgement to Citizens for Informed Land Use, CELU, for participating in the development of the town's recreation plan. This erroneously implies that we actively participated in the plan's development and endorsed the results. We would like to clarify that CELU has not been a part of the process or at any time been invited to participate in it. Because we are opposed to parts of this plan that run contrary to our mission statement, we formally request that our name be removed from the recreation report and a retraction be placed on the website as soon as possible. Does anyone like to comment?
So Chief, I think I forwarded to you, because I don't know if you were copying on it.
I was not copied, but we did take your, that was in a press release that the committee had put in.
It was in the recreation report.
I thought we took it
don't know if it
down.
was in the press
It
release.
was in the press release that, I thought you were referring to the press release that the township committee put out, but it was taken down. Your name was taken off.
Okay, as of last night, it was still in the recreation.
I'll look there, because I
Okay.
wasn't aware of that. I just, I know we had done the press release and you were thanked at the bottom, and I thought that's what your letter was referring to, so.
Oh, okay.
But we'll take care of that too.
Thank you.
Scott?
Scott Goldstein, 24 East Lawn Drive. Just want to remind Rocco, there was an issue when they built fire company number 2 with the size of fire truck. So if we're purchasing new fire trucks that and we're refurbishing a building that it fits, we don't go through what we had done many years ago.
Yep.
This is a follow-up question that I brought up at the last Township Committee meeting regarding the synthetic turf development up at Telegraph Phillips Park, and I asked if the material being used there would be certified that it did not contain any hazardous chemicals such as lead, cadmium, and other toxic chemicals that they may use in the development of synthetic turf. And I haven't got a response since then.
No toxic.
And how do you know that?
Well, I asked.
Can we get a letter of certification the material being used is free of toxins?
Can I ask for a letter if that's what you're looking for, sure?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to know about that.
You got it? Barbara?
Barbara Singer, 5 Deerfield Road. I just wanted to get a current status on our fundraising for our half of the expenses at the library. That's part A. Part B is how we've been able to pay our bills for that in due course. Obviously, we were, as you recall, we were paying for half of the improvements. Bellworks was paying for the other half, which I understand they're making their payments. So
Chief?
I was under the impression we would still be fundraising to come up with the money and pay the bills, and I'm wondering where we're at with bill paying and fundraising.
Well, I'm not understanding the question, because we have no pending bills for the library, correct?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I mean, I think if you're referencing the debt service is being paid as part of the ordinary course, and the township is the beneficiary of the promissory note that was provided by Somerset a couple of years ago, which, goes into the general fund, but can be accounted for as offsetting the debt service, I think it's fair to say.
So all the bills on the library up to date, there's nothing outstanding, nothing due from any vendors, because I've heard complaints from vendors.
I can't speak to any specific procurement that's been completed by the township. I can only speak to what's been completed by the township. If you're referencing anything involving the foundation, which I know we've
I'm
discussed
not
in the past.
referencing the foundation.
Well, I'm clarifying what I
You
can
would go with
answer.
that.
If you'd like me to answer. I can speak to any procurement completed by the township, and there are no arrearages with respect to any procurements completed by the township. I can't speak to any other procurements that you might be referencing.
So this committee has no knowledge of any billing issues?
I just answered your
From
question.
County, from vendors, from anyone, that's the position? Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Jenny Blumenthal, 41 Stony Brook Road. I noticed that Andy Byers here. What's the status of co-op discussions? I know you have a lot of work to do.
For the record, it's Andy Bayer, but you say tomato, I say tomato, it's okay.
Bayer, Bayer, whatever, but what's the state of co-op?
The state is we're going to be discussing it in an executive session after the meeting, and unfortunately, we can't share anything publicly. It's still a subject of litigation. But, that's the best we could do.
Okay.
Kathy.
Kathy Weber, 4 Duncan Drive. 2 questions. It's my understanding you should have also received a letter from Preserve Holmdel relative to being cited as endorsing the recreation proposal when they were not part of the process. It was emailed to the entire township committee.
I thought we took everybody off that. I think
It's
if
still on the
I could
website.
speak for the PR on that, it's not involved, but I think the concept was that as we got feedback in public meetings and everything, it was meant to give some thanks. Am I understanding that right? It wasn't meant to, so I think there was potentially the wording didn't come out right, but we're happy to take it down.
Okay. And then, now I forgot my other question. The bills from T&M of $31,000 for services for turf field up at the swim club, are those available to the public?
You could submit a
Oprah?
NOPA request and we'll
And
review
receive
it. I mean, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Come on down.
Good evening, Ron Emma, 32 Ladwood Drive. Just to follow up on a previous question about the firehouse. Am I right in saying that the footprint of the building, the existing building, is not going to be expanded?
That's not 100% true. It might need to be.
Are there finished plans, architectural plans?
No.
No.
But there are for the first aid squad, but
First
not
aid
for...
squad's not for the fire, because we're waiting for our fire people to give us their opinion. Yes, we can extend it, we know we have a big truck coming, so yes, that's possible.
Ron, and I'll be clear so there's no misconception. In a perfect world, we wouldn't have to extend it. We have to get the exact dimensions of a ladder truck and whether or not that ladder truck could fit in there, and then if it doesn't, is it as simple as knocking down that wall in between, or do we actually have to extend the garage in order to fit the ladder truck? So that's where we just need a little help.
My concern was just trying to make it a state-of-the-art facility. We talked about a gym possibly for the volunteers, meeting rooms. It just does, not knowing the ins and outs of the existing building,
Yeah.
I would just think it needs to grow a little bit, whether it's go up
Yeah.
or go out.
So, and I'm happy to let Dr. I think we learned a lot in meeting with volunteers, again, not just our current volunteer groups and whatnot, and not being a volunteer fireman, like, I think the culture that we're trying to welcome in order to get other Holmdel volunteers is, yeah, does it help if you have TV and ping pong and
Exactly.
pool table, and at the end of the day, it's really not important to them. What's important to them is uniforms, meeting room, good equipment, good trucks. So, you know, as much as I might be a little bit more in tune to those other things, they want to fight fires, and they want to keep us safe, and they want the best equipment, and that's what's important to them, so we want to adhere to that.
Educate me on the bonding process. Like, now that it's been approved, how quickly are we placing an order for a new fire truck?
Yeah, it's not approved yet. We introduced it tonight.
And then what happens?
Next meeting.
There's a next
There's a
meeting.
20-day period where it has to be advertised, you'll have a public hearing, final adoption at the next meeting in August, there's then a 20-day estoppel period, and after that, the township will have bonding authority, and I would assume in the interim, they'll be preparing all the other stuff that needs to be done with your fire procurement, and then after the authorization's there, which, Bill, I guess you would say around Labor Day, probably.
Well, you still have to,
You still have the specs drawn up and everything else for the truck, so it probably won't be till the fall at the earliest.
But we have bonding authority around Labor Day, I guess.
Yes. Yeah, after it's published, you got 20 days estoppel, and then you can spend it.
Are we talking about the spec yet, or are we waiting for the money to be finally approved before we go to the apparatus company and say, I want this type of truck, or can't we do that now so
Yes,
there's
it's
no
already
delay?
being done now, we're not
Okay.
waiting till we get everything done.
Fine.
And as far as the first aid side of that building, it's much larger than the fire side, so most of the stuff they need is already there.
Okay, fine.
So if you could see, you'd be impressed.
Okay. Second question. Deputy Mayor, I missed the motion that you put forward earlier today about the 2-year period about the township administrator. The vote was taken, but I didn't catch it. Can you just, so that did not get approved? We're not going to allow that in?
I believe it does.
That passed 3-1-1, I believe, if the one.
So there was some abstentions.
3 yes votes, 1 no, 1 abstention, that
So
passes.
there will be no, cannot rehire somebody that's.
Well, but to be clear, he was making a motion to direct me to draft an ordinance,
Yes.
and an ordinance would still need to be introduced
correct.
and then finally
And that was
adopted.
passed, so you guys are gonna vote, okay. Thank you.
Go.
Debbie Brew, 15 Cindy Lane. I just have a question. As I let the AYF know about the delay now with the tent, they're concerned that cheer starts next week. Is there going to be a
No, we passed
delay?
that.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? See no other questions? Motion?
Mayor, can I don't know if this is proper, but we received a letter from the head of the planning board. They have a meeting August 8th that we have to replace a member, and we don't have a meeting till after that. Should we do that tonight?
Well, they have alternates, Rock, so what I'm thinking is that we have to make a motion to go back into executive.
Yeah.
So,
Make an alternate permanent.
Yeah,
we'll make an alternate permanent, and I think we'll buy a couple weeks to sort through, maybe, can we put on the, I don't know, we haven't had one of these in a while. Do we make a,
We can all, I can look at this audience and see many qualified candidates.
Yeah.
Isn't that a mayoral appointment?
I tell you what, we just found out today, so we'll make an alternate a permanent, and then we will appoint someone on the August 13th. Good? I make a motion to go back into executive?
And just to clarify, it's for the same reasons on the executive resolution in your agenda. We're just continuing the discussion from earlier. So, committee, we need a motion.
Any more public comment? No. So motion to adjourn, and
A motion to go into closed session.
motion to go into closed session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Have a great night.